It is the second model introduced in the 2023 ZOIDS collaboration, but not to be confused with the ZOIDS Wild Zero collaboration of previous. It is ZID01 Blade Liger, with a kit of Revenge Sword, Spark Strike, Punishment, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Through Fight, which grants a chance for melee attacks to ignore defense and bypass shields when attacking. Now, as the second model introduced in the collaboration announced, and the first gacha model, specific model introduced in the collaboration, Blade Liger is definitely where things start picking up when it comes to exceptional stats, good power, and very solid numbers across the board as well. As in addition to this, also introducing a brand new, never before seen skill to officially start changing up the game rules and what he brings to the field. Revenge Sword on the head part is a new skill, as I said, and basically explained is it doubles its damage when an HP falls under a certain threshold. And I think the number mentioned on that was about 50% or so about half HP. So anytime you are under that, the base power of this doubles. And as you see here, its base power of just over 2,000 is already immensely strong, even if it does not pack passive pierce damage or pierce damage at all. If you double that to a little over 4k, he is most certainly going to be cooking as a last-ditch effort kind of thing when he gets pushed to the ropes and he has to really bring something to the table to turn things around. Right arm of Spark Strike is a skill we've not seen too terribly often, but is still an exceptionally solid skill all the same. When using Spark Strike, it basically will consume a small amount of charge, about 5% or so, upon attacking the foe. Upon finishing this, it will boost your heat up and cooldown phases by 50% for your next turn. This means it'll be exceptionally useful for anything that has really, really low heat or cool stats if you mix it up, such as, say, Hyper Beam, Ghost Shot, Power Hammer, or anything like that. This is a really good move to add a lot of speed to the table that you didn't have originally and help keep that competitive edge, especially if you can use it more than once. Now, the catch to Spark Strike, however, is if you don't have any charge in your gauge when using it, you don't get that stat boost. So make sure you have at least just a little bit in there to capitalize on before you use it, and you can most certainly start making some sparks fly with your speed bonuses. Left Arm of Punishment is a relatively new ailment skill, but it's been definitely making its mark on the game in fairly recent with a couple models. But explaining Punishment in briefly, it is essentially the antithesis and counterpart to Sujigiri. Punishment, however, it deals a times 1.5 damage bonus when attacking a forward-facing target, but also only deals half damage if you are fighting someone from the backside. The extra bonus to Punishment, however, is that you have the opportunity to land one of 5 different ailments at random on the particular target, which means it is potentially stackable. Some of those ailments include Fire, Metaphor Seal, Virus, Thunder, and I think Wave. was the 5th one in there. So you have a very wide array of ailments that you can bring to the table with that as well. Even though with a randomness factor to it, it is hard to track just which one it's going to give them. Biped Legs means that Blade Liger will have very solid coverage across most terrains, as Biped Legs have one of the most diverse terrain coverages when it comes to compatibility, and the stats across the board, though, are actually not too shabby. Now, his melee resist stats are definitely really low, and I think that's a really good way to kind of round out the very powerful kit he brings to the table. With an armor of about 3,500 for the head, about 3,100 for the right arm, 3,250 for the left arm, and about 3,900 for the legs. Relatively solid HP pool, as you see here. And with the leg mobility of 907, he's already off to a really solid start with his speed. And an evade of nearly 1,400 is also really nice, as it means that he will have a very solid time dodging or grazing incoming blows. But that's essentially where a lot of his pros end. A couple of his really big notable cons in this case is the fact that he has a melee resist of 620 and a shoot resist of 550. This means that even though he talks big and can dish it out really, really well between Revenge Sword, Spark Strike, and Punishment, he unfortunately can't take it. And that means that anyone that's either in his personal space, up close and personal, or even trying to snipe him from afar, really won't have too much of a difficult time taking him down if there isn't anyone trying to cover him with a shield. However, With the leg ability of Through Fight, this does kind of comp him and make it forgivable just to a point, as it does mean that he has up to a 50% chance every single time he moves to bypass any active shields that are in play, as if they weren't even there, or ignore defense and hit just a little bit harder than originally intended when his turn comes about. All this being said though, as a pure set score, I still do have to rate him a pretty solid 7.5 out of 10. Even though Spark Strike and Punishment both have, well, all three of his skills have some kind of particular requirement to them, he's a model that you can use relatively easily out of the box without really needing anybody to prep behind him or prep for him to really make him shine on the field. Revenge Sword is essentially kind of a last-ditch effort kind of move once he starts really taking damage. Spark Strike as well once you start getting a charge going for that speed boost. And Punishment, even though it will still guarantee the ailment on the enemy, whether forward or rear facing, the only real thing you have to pay attention to, aside from the damage bonus, is anyone using Stat Cleanse. And of course, if they have that does kind of make it tricky to use this, but don't let that discourage you from making use of at least the damage bonus if you catch them frontward facing. As mixed parts though, I do have to rate him just a little bit higher at an 8 out of 10 as well, primarily for the reason that all three of his skills can synergize decently well with each other as a mixed bag of melee skills in this case. It's mixing him up is where you can really start taking advantage of that the most. Spark Strike if you really need a speed bonus on anyone that's kind of chugging behind. Punishment if you want to add some ailment fighting to your game while not sacrificing any damage bonuses. And Revenge Sword if you want to add that as kind of a last-ditch effort, like I said, to kind of serve as a emergency insurance card for anyone that tries to hit you from afar and take you down quickly. If you're going to use his legs, definitely encourage some caution and definitely make sure that if you're not bringing somebody to comp those low stats, make sure you bring a shielder or a healer on the team to make sure he stays alive as long as possible.